With the release of the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, we have now concluded Phase 4 of the MCU. And I think it's fair to say that this has been by far the most diverse phase of Marvel yet. Whether it comes to the Disney Plus shows, the CGI, and just a crazy amount of content we've gotten in general over the past 2 years almost.
Am I dead?
No. Why would you think that?
Because you are.
So today, I'm going to give my thoughts on the phase as a whole and how I think it turned out personally. Also, I decided not to include What If and I Am Groot because I don't see them as canon. What If is up for debate, sure, but I Am Groot, If I had to sum up my quick thoughts on those two shows though, What If was solid and had pretty cool animation and good storytelling like the Doctor Strange episode. I Am Groot kinda sucked, but hey, those are just shorts, so I don't think it's a big deal. With those out of the way, let's start off with the Disney Plus side of things. To kick off the first phase of the MCU with TV series, we got 7 shows alongside 2 special presentations. To be honest, I think this new trope hasn't been awful. There's been some great shows like The Falcon, Winter Soldier, and Moon Knight. I think were both great. Everything else is either just good or mid, like Phase 4 as a whole, read the title of the video. WandaVision was great first time viewing, but going back on it on rewatch, it's a pretty boring mess, and I don't need to bring up the goddamn Ralph Boner joke.
Boner.
Falcon Winter Soldier I think was a great series with good storytelling, great new characters like John Walker and Isaiah Bradley, and this show does have what I think is the best episode of the MCU, that being episode 4, The Whole World is Watching. Loki I think is pretty overrated. It's got some memorable moments and awesome characters like Mobius and He Who Remains, and Loki himself is fine in the show. I wasn't crazy about Sylvie, and I also think that the middle portion of the show is boring, but the beginning and ending, solid stuff. Hawkeye was an enjoyable series which introduced my celebrity crush, Haley Steinfeld. I mean, what? It also reintroduced us to Kingpin, which was awesome to see. I honestly think the show could have been better as a movie, which is something all these shows have in common, to be fair. But hey, it still works the way it is. Moon Knight was a really cool addition to the MCU. The characters themselves, Mark and Steven, worked perfectly in it, and I'd say this show has the second best MCU episode, being episode 5, Asylum. Ms. Marvel kinda similar to Loki, had a strong beginning and ending, but with a weak, dragged on middle part. Really liked her character and her family though, they're great. I think She-Hulk is definitely overhated for dumb reasons. Well, a few reasons I can understand why. But I myself thought that while it was a pretty unfunny show with questionable CGI for sure, I still had a fun time watching stuff with Daredevil, Pug, the side heroes and villains, the court scenes. She-Hulk herself is kind of annoying, but hey, Tatiana Maslany still gave a good performance. Now on to the special presentations, and to be honest, I think these were quite a bit better than the shows do. I didn't have much hope from Werewolf by Night because I didn't really like the trailer, but after watching it, I thought it was great, and the gore we get in it too was just so awesome to see. The Guardians Holiday Special was even better with hilarious moments, heartfelt moments, and a banger soundtrack. I'd love to get more of these special presentations because they really feel a lot better in terms of quality than the shows do. So overall, while I don't think this new take of Disney Plus in the MCU has been awful, it can be improved on for sure. Like I said, just crank out more special presentations rather than dragged out shows, and I think it works. Anyway, let's move on to the movie side of things now. The movies this phase was pretty mixed. Black Widow was solid at first, but feels a lot worse on rewatch, which is something a lot of these Phase 4 projects lack, is rewatchability. Shang-Chi, on the other hand, I think is great. Love Simu Wu in the role, and the action is some of the best I've seen in the MCU. Can't wait to see more of this character. Eternals was kinda just It had good visuals and a good cast, but most of the characters are just forgettable, and I didn't care for most of them. Minus the speedster, I loved her. Spider-Man No Way Home is definitely my favorite of Phase 4 though. In terms of the story, the characters, the emotions, it's just the perfect Spider-Man movie, second to Spider-Verse at least, and I love it. Doctor Strange 2 was a confusing one for sure. While it didn't have the millions of cameos people wanted, I think it's still really good, and the horror elements to it worked perfectly. Thor 4 isn't that good. I'd prefer it over Black Widow, but just barely. It's extremely unfunny and has some questionable moments.
Are you okay?
I no longer go by the name Astrid. I'm now known as Axel. He's a singer from a popular band I heard on Earth.
I'm sorry, this movie cost $250 million? What? And finally, Black Panther Wakanda Forever. While I'm one of the people who think they should have just recasted T'Challa, I still think the movie did the best it could without him. It feels too long and some plot points feel unnecessary, but hey, we got Namor, the second best villain of Phase 4, second to Green Goblin, fight me. So there were really only 3 movies that I found great this phase. that being Shang-Chi, Spider-Man, and probably Doctor Strange, with the others being meh to good at best. So I don't think it's a surprise now that I admit that this has to be my least favorite phase thus far of the MCU. If I were to make a ranking of this phase, it would go something like this. Go follow me on Letterboxd, link in bio. But we had some L's and we had some W's this phase, so let's just hope for better in phase 5. I don't know what junk to end this video on.
No, Daddy! You love God!
Oh, you are way more fun than my last one. I will kill for you, make